Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more EJTF members to hop on. Hope folks are doing well.
Hello, hello. Can folks hear me okay? Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's April 20th. It's officially Taurus season. I will be turning 30 years old on May 10th. So I'm excited for Taurus season. It's finally here, best time of the year. So maybe we can start with a little icebreaker. Folks can say their name, pronouns, who they're with, and what's your zodiac sign. And for those of you who are really into it, if you can get into the other stuff, get into it. So I'll go first. Joel, he, him, his, Executive Director of the Oregon Just Transition Alliance and Chair of the EJTF. I am a Taurus, but I think I'm a rising Scorpio, and my moon is in Aries. I don't know what that means, but I know what it is. Check, and I'll pass it to Quinn.
Good morning. My name is Quinn Reed. I'm the Oregon Policy Director for the Center for Biological Diversity. My pronouns are she, her. I am a Gemini sun sign and a Libra rising. And Joel, that's that's a zesty combination of signs you've got going on there. I will pass it on to Albert.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Albert Lee. I'm with the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office, and I use he, him pronouns. My sign is Aquarius, and that's all I know. And I'll go ahead and pass it on to Bob.
Thank you, Albert. Good morning. He, him, his, retired professor, writer, and author. Nancy Reagan was famous for relying on astrology for public policy. So be careful how far you go with that, but she was, pretty far with it. So who knows? I'm a Capricorn. I don't know what part of that I am, but I'll pass it off to Amira.
Good morning, everyone. I am a Gemini. Oh, she, her pronouns. I'm sorry about that. Yes, Geminis. It's almost Gemini season 2. Well, I think my moon sign is Leo, and then my rising sign is Aquarius. And I'm going to pass it on to Jim.
Well, hi, I'm Jim, and I'm retired, so I'm me, and I do what I do. So don't do all of it that well, but I do it. And I'm a Leo. And by the way, Nancy Reagan's astrologer came from Union County, and I've had my charts done by her. So there, I'm in with the Reagans. And I'll pass it on to Valentin.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Valentin Sanchez, pronouns he, him, él. I'm a community outreach worker with the Oregon Law Center's Farmer Good Program. And I'm a Scorpio. I just love the icon, the illustration, but that's as far as I know. And I'll pass it over to Courtney.
I'm Courtney with the governor's office. She, her, hers, and I am a Libra. I think everybody's gone so far, so I'll pass it back.
I think so. Thanks, Courtney. Thanks, gang, for sharing. I can see which one of you are a little more into astrology than others. If you knew your rising and sun, so I've exposed you all, and also exposed myself a little bit. But thanks everyone for indulging me. We have a couple things on our agenda today. I know it's a quick meeting. We're gonna go through some legislative updates from Amira, and then of course hear more from Albert. Congratulations, Albert, on such a great gig. We're really excited to see you there. And excited to have you with us. And then of course, we'll wrap it up with public comment. So super fast, we'll be here till 11 o'clock and then we can move on with our day. So with that, I'll turn over to Amira so she can give us some updates and we can get our meeting on the road. And then also shout out to all the folks that are, all the attendees as well. Thank you to all the agency folks for coming and listening and being with us today.
Thank you, Chair. I am going to go ahead and share my screen so you could see the bills that I'm going to talk about very briefly. And then I think I remember there being an interest in all bills that relate to environmental justice. There are 15 bills that touch on EJ in one way or another. And I can show you where those are on the bill tracker. And if there's some other visual representation that you all would like, I can work on that for your view, something similar to this. So, and also feel free to ask questions. So these bills are listed as being tracked by governor's office specifically in making sure that they also relate to environmental justice. And there also are bills that are squarely within natural resources. So Senate Bill 286, which is the bill that would sort of revamp and revitalize the task force into a council, move it into DEQ, and then also creates an environmental vulnerability assessment. That bill right now is in Ways and Means. And actually most of these are in Ways and Means, by the way. House Bill 2171, which is the Outdoor Recreation Omnibus Bill, the Water Vision Bill, and House Bill 3293, and then the Wildfire Omnibus Bill, Senate Bill 762. All of those are in Ways and Means, and they do have some form of equity component to it, an environmental justice component to it. It's just a matter of finding out how much funding can be given to each of these things. The process for that is the tri-chairs of the Ways and Means larger committee will have discussions about what will be in the state Christmas tree bill, which is the bill that has all the budget items in it. And then we are also tracking specific packages around DEI positions and other equity-related investments for the agencies. And those are all connected into the agency bills, which are slowly going through the process. Some of those are still left to be heard. I think DEQ's budget is still needs to be heard in the small subcommittee of natural resources before it goes to the larger Joint Ways and Means Committee. And then Senate Bill 289, which is the Safety in the Outdoors Bill, which is primarily put together by the Environmental Equity Committee, is heading to the Senate floor in 2 days on Thursday. And then House Bill 2475, which dealt with energy affordability, is already scheduled for a public hearing on the Senate side of the legislature in Senate Energy and Environment. Any questions about these? And I'll take a quick pause, and then I'll talk about the other bills.
Can you tell us a little bit more? Sorry, Amira. I was going to say, can you talk to us a little bit more about the omnibus bill, the wildfire one?
Yes, I will do my best. So there are actually two different wildfire bills. The one that we're tracking is Senate Bill 762, but there's also a House bill that is fairly identical to what is included in the bill. And that bill comes from a lot of discussions with the Wildfire Council recommendations that had been taking place over the past couple of years. Trying to think if there's anything more I can really say about that one. There is a lot of momentum to making sure that something gets passed around wildfire. It's already gorgeous outside, but it's also unseasonably warm. And I think, we could have a potentially another harsh fire season. And it's really important that we try to do as much as we can to get the investments we need to handle wildfires. See if
so I just was curious what the budgetary, what budget was attached to the bill?
Oh, yes. So I think that is actually still up in the air as to how much it would be. I do know it could potentially be a very high bill in terms of funding. Like a lot of investment would go towards that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I think I may see a question from an attendee. I just wanted to pause and see if the panelists had any questions.
Amira, do you know if there's any DEI component into SB 762 or the other similar House bill?
There is some, but it's mostly around like the community engagement pieces of like how people will be engaged when it comes to like the public utility issues, and then like setting standards around how to deal with wildfires. Let's see. This bill is quite extensive. There's like 43 pages on it. I'm just looking at the Senate one. And let's see. So it creates a statewide map of wildfire risk. So that is definitely a piece that impacts vulnerable communities in that you would use geospatial mapping to figure out where socially and economically vulnerable communities live and try to mitigate the impacts of wildfire in those areas. There's also requests in here to making sure that we are working not only with state agencies and local governments, but with the federally recognized tribes of the state. And then there is a lot of information here about defensible space as well.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Great. And now I'll switch over to just sharing the list of bills so you all can see everything that touches on EJ. Some of them we know about and we have been tracking, like Resolution 17 and House Bill 2488. But there are also items in here that touch on EJ communities or vulnerable populations that could also be useful. So this is a system called Bill Tracker. And then when I looked for bills that had environmental justice in it in some form, it pulled up 15 different bills, including some of the ones I just talked about. And so Bill Tracker is a system that we use. It's easier for us to find the bills that are associated with specific keywords. But public members would definitely use OLIS or the Oregon legislature system. Let's see if I can show a little bit more about that. And do folks know how to use OLIS? Seeing some head nods. So you can go and do like a keyword search, environmental justice, and then we're going to go to the 2021 regular session. And you'll kind of see all the bills that have to do with environmental justice, as you can see in here. And I'm just going to go to 286A and gross so you all can see the language about that. Okay, any other questions or things that folks would like to dive a little bit deeper into? Oh, Bob, I'm sorry, go ahead.
On Senate Bill 289, the racial bias bill, I think that's turned into a study commission as opposed to law. And I wanted to be clear on that. If so, it would be disappointing.
Yeah, so when you go to OLIS, you actually, so the language is included on there for 289. It's just under the amendment section. So I'll show you, go to the bill.
What dash is it, Amira?
It's the -4.
Okay.
So if you go to the text, like the introduced version, that shows the study bill. But then when you click on amendments and you go to -4, you see how like all the amendments are proposed. The -4 is adopted, which means it should be reflected in the bill itself. So don't worry, it has not gone back. I think it just takes a minute for them to reflect it in OLIS.
I will reassure interested parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I see a comment in the chat from Harmony Burritt from saying that there are also place-based water planning related bills. In the past, we have tracked progress with certain groups around water resources and planning and implementation. And there are a couple of bills that we could add to the list, including House Bill 3105 and House Bill 3092. Great. And so I think that's all I had as a quick update. It seems like things are moving relatively smoothly, given the chaos of session plus being virtual. And I think we're on track. We are way past the half mark where things have to move through the first chamber. And now a lot of bills will be focused on making sure the policy is right and getting it through the floor. And then making sure bills that have a fiscal requirement on them get through Ways and Means. If there aren't any questions or comments, oh, sorry, go ahead, Quinn.
Amira, I was just wondering if there's anything we can be doing to, support these bills' continued movement as they risk getting stuck in Ways and Means. I would be happy to help and I'm just kind of curious the best way to plug in.
Great. I think the best way to plug in right now is, I guess, figuring out which bills really speak to you, one as like an individual, and then two as like the Environmental Justice Task Force. And I think probably the best way to get support out there, if there's like a suite of bills you're interested in making sure that are funded as the EJTF, writing a letter to the tri-chairs could be really effective right now. And then also, I know a few of you have testified on bills on your own volition, and that also really works well. The timing around all that is a little bit tricky. There's actually a subscription alert that you can sign up for to track a bill, which actually I just learned about. And the best way to get involved is probably between now and May 16th or so, because that's when the budget committee will start making their decisions and really honing in on what they want to include in the bill. I'm sorry, in the budget.
I know some of these bills have organizations that are really pushing for them. So Amir, if you could send us like a one-pager of those bills, I can try and, there's some of those bills that I see that I know are associated with the campaigns. I mean, all the energy justice bills, I'm working pretty closely with Quinn in a professional capacity, so I'm happy to plug you in there. And then I know some other EJ groups have some other bills that they're pushing for as well. So it would be cool. It would be nice to sort of like map it out and then send something out to EJTF and then give a point of contact so that EJTF members can get in contact with those campaigns and jump in.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all. Turn it back over to Chair.
Thanks so much. All right, gang, we're moving right along. It is 10:30. We got about half an hour left. I think we'll reserve the last 10 minutes for public comment. But yeah, just wanted to take the time to introduce and get a little overview of the Oregon Advocacy Commission from the new commission director, Albert Lee. So Albert, I'll pass it to you. Thanks for being with us today.
Joel, thank you for having me. And I'm very happy to meet all of you here today. My name is Albert Lee, he, him, Executive Director for the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office. And I am on week 9. So a very short time jumping in the middle of the legislative session. It's been super busy and super hectic. I do know that we have some of our commissioners on EJTF right now, which is great. And for me, you know, the work that you all do is incredibly important. And I'd like to share just a little story that kind of connects. And it revolves around specifically environmental racism. So I grew up, I was born in Korea. My dad was in the Army. My mom was from Korea. And eventually, by the time I was 5, we moved back to my dad's hometown of St. Louis. And his family actually lived in a place called Kinloch. Kinloch was the first suburb outside of the city of St. Louis that allowed Black folks to move into that area, provided that they paid 6 times the market rate for the housing cash up front. So my great-grandfather, who was born in northern Alabama, moved as part of the Great Migration up into St. Louis, and he was one of the earlier folks that moved up from the Deep South to escape overt and systemic racism there. Moved into downtown St. Louis, was an engineer or worked on the railroad. Eventually, he and his family cobbled up the money to, you know, purchase one of these homes. It was an old farmhouse off of what would eventually become MLK Drive in Kinloch. Now, Kinloch became the first Black suburb of St. Louis, but the interesting thing about it was that it was situated next to a little airfield called Lambert. Lambert International Airport eventually was a product of that little airstrip. That area right there, when I was growing up, we spent a lot of time. In fact, we lived with my great-grandfather for a little bit of my childhood. It was spent in an area that was heavily polluted with the pollution from airplanes. That was air pollution, that was noise pollution, and all kinds of everything else. In fact, it was an increase in higher incident of asthma in that area. Now, I flash forward into the mid-'80s. The airport decides to expand. Which direction do you think that they're going to expand? Well, they expand into that area that was heavily concentrated with Black folks. And in order to procure that land, they used eminent domain. So basically, after having, family history, paying 6 times market rate, and then being offered a quarter of the market rate of the day, they were able to basically dismantle what was once a vibrant Black community. If you go to that area today, a lot of it still remains just empty and vacant. In fact, they didn't really utilize most of it in their airport expansion. What they did do is what they do everywhere around the country, and that was to destroy a vibrant community and disperse people across the 4 winds. Here in Portland, where I live, we see similar situations, and I'm sure you are aware of it, with the I-5 corridor, 84, and how those split up and destroyed families and neighborhoods. So when I think about environmental justice, it comes from a very personal background and history and understanding of it. So again, I applaud you for the work that you do, and I'm glad that our commission, 4 commissions are aligned in that work, and that we have commissioners that are part of your group. So a little bit about the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office. The Oregon Advocacy Commission's office supports the 4 advocacy commissions. That's the Commission on Asian Pacific Islander Affairs, the Commission on Black Affairs, the Commission on Hispanic Affairs, and the Commission for Women. It was constituted in 2005. Prior to the organization, prior to the agency, and we are the smallest agency, independent agency of the state, prior to its creation, each of the 4 advocacy commissions used to have their own administrator and own staff. They were defunded in 2003, and then in 2005, I guess it wasn't considered necessary at the time. And then in 2005, this office was created to support all 4 of those commissions with only 2 people. Now we move forward to 2021, and we have grown to 2.5 people. So we are the smallest agency. We are severely under-resourced, underfunded, and quite frankly, therein lies an equity issue. And this agency is really tasked with looking into, equity issues. So I think that there is an irony there that needs to be resolved. So the 4 commissions, like I said, each of the 4 commissions has 9 governor-appointed commissioners, and then 2 appointed by the legislator, 1 by the Speaker of the House and 1 by the President of the Senate. So in total, each of the 4, when they're at full capacity, have 11 commissioners. They are charged with, again, looking into equity issues across the state. And really, we divide that up into 4 different areas. That's advocacy, public policy research, leadership development, and partnerships. So when most people think about the advocacy commissions, if they are aware of the advocacy commissions, they think about the advocacy part, really supporting legislation that's going to promote and support equity issues. And really that goes across 7 different strategic priority areas, including environmental issues. What the advocacy commissions do in that area is, one, providing testimony like you do in support of bills that are going to forward those missions, but also looking at how to shape legislation for the future. Oftentimes, a lot of different great ideas come out from the commissioners. Those get shopped around to different legislators and in the hopes of creating legislative concepts that eventually go to bills that eventually, hopefully, will become law to further, again, the equity issues. Another area that we focus on is public policy research. One of the areas that we do that with is really just trying to do partnerships with a lot of different agencies, including ORAE, which is focused on quantitative research, and really trying to get them to switch over and take a look at qualitative research as it's going to bring in more of the voice of the community. One of the things that we look at is trying to figure out ways to decolonize data, decolonize research, so that we can get to workable solutions for all Oregonians. In addition to that, we also look at leadership development. And when we're talking about leadership development, we're looking at how do we increase the representation of underrepresented communities through elected officials and running for office, as well as growing folks to work within the government. Not only getting into positions, but also developing leaders from those positions and getting them through the promotional pipelines. That is another of the four areas. And then lastly is partnerships, trying to develop partnerships not only within state agencies, but also within community-based organizations around the state. So partnerships with folks like PANO and the ACP, Latino Health Coalition and the like. Really, those are the four different areas. Our commissioners are all volunteers. They remain unpaid except for a per diem for meetings. And they do a lot of good work in trying to connect community to the state and really focusing on equity. So at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on the commission or myself.
Thanks so much, Albert. Like other folks have any questions or comments?
This is Hui, he, him. Albert, I am encouraged and wish you the best of luck in your new role. I'm excited at your leadership at the commission and look forward to working with you in this capacity as a EJ task force member. We've known each other for some time now, and I'm excited to continue to do that work with you in this different role.
It's good to see you, Hui.
Thank you, Albert. It's great to see you leading the the office that kind of helps the four commissions that you mentioned. And just a quick question that I have for you. In the past, we have the EJ task force has discussed issues that sometimes we believe that the office Commission of Hispanic Affairs should be aware of. And I think we're just trying to figure out whether those issues should be directed to you, or we should continue to direct them to the chair of each commission, advocacy commission.
Thank you, Valentin. So yes, I think that the role that I play and the role that the 2.5 of us in the office play is to provide support. So if to the four commissions. So if you're not able, or if you're not finding information or getting feedback back from OCHA, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to swing that by. I know Gustavo is one of your members here. He's also another way that you can direct that. With each of the four advocacy commissions during the legislative session, they have a priority list of bills that they really focus on, and I think it's capped at 10. But that is not to say that they wouldn't weigh in or provide support for other issues outside of that priority list.
Thank you, Albert. And I should say that OCHA has been very responsive. But like everyone else, they're extremely busy, and we just want to make sure that we're able to use the correct channel to raise the concerns that we learn about in a most effective way. Yes,
no, thank you. I appreciate that. In addition to that, I just wanted to note that for our commissioners, they are on 4-year terms. And I know that some of our commissions, we are looking for commissioners. One of the things that I'm kind of focusing on right now is to try to provide more diversity in our commissions. And when I say more diversity, I'm talking about geographic diversity, age diversity, experience diversity. Some of our commissions are really heavily centric, Portland centric or Willamette Valley centric. And I think that it's really important that we get the perspective of all Oregonians, as well as different age groups. So if the ask is, if you know of folks within your networks that may be interested in championing equity efforts within the state, feel free to share my contact, and I'm happy to put that in the chat.
Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, Albert. Welcome very much to this forum. I wanted to impress upon you that this is guaranteed and protected space for people of color on this task force. And Senator Gordley, when she designed this was expressly meant this way. If it's unpopular, you're there. If it's popular, you're there. Whatever you say, you're there. So that's one thing I will be strong on. And I want you to be aware of how important that protected space is, because once it's gone, and you're no longer at the table, you're on the menu. So I wanted to give you a heads up on that, because they will come at that in different ways. And I want to really protect that in the new legislation and in anything the Advocacy Commissions does, because it's really important for that to be there. But I want to welcome you. It's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Albert. I just wanted, I know it's you're on your week 9, but just for some history, and Bob, feel free to jump in here. But the Advocacy Commissions have been embedded in the EJTF structure since the beginning, and it's really important to us that we continue that relationship. And we're really excited to have you on, and to see the Advocacy Commission's staff support grow. We ourselves, as you heard from Amira, are hoping to get some more staff support and a little bit of funding to help support the work that we do. But currently, right, we're supposed to have folks from each of the Advocacy Commissions, but we just had 2 folks drop off, from the EJTF, and so we'd love to chat with you sometime in the next few months before summertime and see if we can get representation from some of those Advocacy Commissions that are missing. I think right now our only liaison is Ben Duncan from the Commission on Black Affairs, but we're missing representatives from the other Advocacy Commission. So we'd love to chat with you about that and get some folks on here.
Yeah, happy to do so. I'd like to let you know that one of the things that I'll let you know 2 things that we're doing internally. Internally with the office, being understaffed and under-resourced, as we know, we are doing everything we can to review all of our processes in effect to improve those processes to make things more efficient so that we can better support the commissions. And then secondly, with regard to the commissions and the office, we'll be going through strategic planning at the end of this legislative session. One of the things that we have the strategic plan that's great on paper, but it doesn't really match up with the realities of our capacities and our situation. So we're going to be addressing that, and then hopefully getting some solid structure and direction for all 4 commissions. So while I would love to add somebody on for each of those commissions, I'm not sure if we'll be able to get to that until after that strategic planning, but I will definitely be happy to put a bug into the ears of those commissions. And then I also see that Azelle had asked for restating of the 3 prongs of the office's approach. I think, were you referring to the 4 program areas, which were advocacy, public policy research, partnerships, and leadership development, or was it something else, Azelle? Okay, yeah, that was it.
That's really good to know. You know, I think if SB 286 does pass and we end up being folded into DEQ, we went through our own strategic planning process. Oh, geez, about 2 years ago now, almost. So yeah, you know, if this does pass, and as you're going through your process, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to, you know, come for a part of that strategic process and talk a little bit about the history of the EJTF, the relationship between the advocacy commissions, if that's useful.
Certainly. And then also, so you're saying currently in the bill is to have you be placed under DEQ. Where are you housed currently?
The governor's office.
Okay. And then what would be the purpose of housing you specifically with DEQ as opposed to in conjunction with the governor's office directly?
Amira, can you want to speak on that one?
So the purpose is to get more resources and funding that way, and also align the environmental work that it seems like DEQ is leading on, and just making sure that the justice component is put in there. But the main function of how the EJTF, or what would be known as the EJ Council, functions would kind of be the same, in that they would still report to the governor, and also the EQC, or the Environmental Quality Commission. There's also a slight change with how the designation of the advocacy commissioners work. Right now, you almost have a double tapping of people who sit both on the commission and have to sit on the EJTF. And so the bill would kind of adjust that so that the commission itself could appoint someone to sit in on their behalf as a representative, just giving a little bit more flexibility for everyone, especially around recruitment, or say if there's, you know, not someone who has time to engage in both, they can say, but, you know, I know someone in the environmental field who would be really good for the EJTF, and they can represent us in that body.
And if I could just chime in with a question. Hi, Albert, I'm Jim, and I'm out in Eastern Oregon in lovely LeGrand. And as you talked about one of the 3 pillars, you know, leadership, that's something that as we move forward, I would hope that maybe our 2 groups could maybe work together to kind of share combined leadership visions, and also combine leadership techniques and abilities, so that we can kind of all row the boat in the same direction. Because we're an underfunded group, as are you. And when you're underfunded, you have to work smarter. And the more that we can collaborate on common visions, common language, common goals, I think that will increase our effectiveness. So I hope as we all move forward, you know, we can work smarter, not harder.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, no, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. But at the same time, I'll push back and I'll say that being underfunded is something that needs to be addressed directly. You know, if our state and if our leadership believes in the work that we do, it needs to be funded. If they believe in the efforts and the importance of our work, it needs to be funded. You know, when we look at a lot of the legislation that gets passed, oftentimes we see legislation that gets passed without a fiscal. Why? Because it's easier to get passed without a fiscal. But then when it gets passed without fiscal, who's doing the work? How's it getting done? Is it just a notch to be put on somebody's belt, or are you actually really trying to provide an impact? This is something that I said during my interviews for this position, is I'm not here to keep the seat warm. I'm not here to be a placeholder, to say the right things or do the right. I'm here to see in effect and impact change. And when it comes to the equity issues of this agency, the equity issues of the state, either we walk the walk or we bow out. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to the environmental issues. These are important issues that affect all Oregonians. Yes, of course, we need to work smarter and not harder. And that's why we're doing things like process improvement. But there's only so much you can squeeze out of the resources that you have. And then you're gonna have to turn back around and say, hey, if you really believe in this, you need to invest in it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I can show you bruises on my head from hitting it against the wall. You know, I was talking about trying to write grants for our group, but we're told we couldn't do it. It seems like when you get creative fundraising ideas, they tend to get shut down because of some reason somewhere. So maybe sometimes, you know, we have to stop taking no for an answer and just go forward and do it ourselves. As my old supervisor used to say, it is sometimes easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Bingo.
That's something I believe in.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Albert. Appreciate you being here with us and, you know, taking time out of your busy day to introduce yourself. And we're really excited to work with you and get some stuff done.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. Again, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to join you all in future meetings. But at this point, I need to step off it because I've got to jump onto another meeting. But thank you all, and I hope you have a great day and a great week.
Thank you. Good to see you.
All right, take care.
Okay, folks, we got about 5 minutes left, and I wanted just to make sure that we had opened up for public testimony if folks are here to testify.
Chair, I'm not seeing any of the attendees raising their hands, but I do want to let folks know that you can do that or place something in the chat. You can say it out loud so everyone can hear what the comment is.
Doesn't look like anyone signed up or raised their hand. You see anyone, Amira? Okay, well with that, it is 10:55, folks. I'm sure you all have back-to-back meetings. So take these 5 minutes, get a drink of water, get up, move your body a little bit, get some sunshine. It's gorgeous outside, and we'll see you all very soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.